Mr. Achyut Kulkarni, the applied and unitary stream leader for India and the SAARC market at Trane Technologies. Mr. Kulkarni joined the company in 2013, and since then, he has worked in various functions such as pre-sales and large projects within the organization. Mr. Achyut has worked with Wipro Limited, Carrier, and Thermax. He also participated in forums like ISHRAE, Ozone cell representing Trane, organized by the Government of India. He is a mechanical engineer and a LEED AP from US Green Building Corporation. Mr. Achyut will deliberate on advancing the development of cooling and chiller technologies for efficient spaces. So delegates, let's welcome Mr. Achyut.
So I'll just brief a bit of what we as an organization are doing in terms of the carbon and decarbonization per se. Just to give you a brief about decarbonization. So I'll just take you to the current state and what is the ideal future states where we need to be. In terms of the current state, it's about the carbon intense electric grid. The next state would be the net zero carbon electric grid for your fossil fuel usage and little or no fossil fuel usage, high GWP refrigerants to low GWP refrigerants. When we speak on this, we also have to understand about the carbon reduction and how do we deploy a product and services that directly reduce our direct emissions. When we say about direct emissions, it could be our electrification, your space and industrial heating, and refrigerated transport. And when we speak about the other thing, which is about our refrigerant management, and particularly when we speak on refrigerant, it's about the reclaim, because we already have a lot of refrigerants in place where the chillers are currently running with high GWP. So how do we reclaim it, and then how do we make sure that the refrigerants cannot be released to atmosphere? How do we disintegrate those molecules, and then how do we move forward? And parallelly, how do we bring in the low GWP options? So on the indirect emissions, we have this energy and equipment optimization. Okay, what are the current global challenges we have, particularly on the energy and buildings? We all know that the buildings consume about 40% of the electricity produced. And if you further break it down, the building HVAC system consumes around 40% of the total electricity, meaning the HVAC system alone consumes 16% of the total electricity consumption. So that's a big number. And if you have to further add in that 40% of HVAC system, chiller itself will consume around 40 to 50% of the electricity. So that's something which we will have to work on. In terms of the food loss, we all know that, and we see regularly in day in day out lives, where we see around 33% of the food that is produced is either lost or gets wasted. So that's something which is the current global challenge we have. And on the GHG emissions, the greenhouse gas emissions, we all know that 50% of the global emissions come from the heating and cooling units. So that's a very key factor. I think that's something which we need to address. And 10% of the global emission come from the food loss and waste. When we speak about efficient spaces, the thing that comes to our mind is our IEQ and the indoor environmental quality. And very interesting, there's a survey that was being done, and for a full-time employee, I think the total number of percentage of time that we spend is close to 94% indoors. So that's something which is there, and 94% of the time what we spend is indoors. It could be in your transit, it could be working on site, it could be some commercial space where do you visit, it could be work from home today, it could be sleep, and it could be anything other that in our residential day out time. So typically we spend around 94%. And when we know that we spend so much of time, what are the core elements? So when we speak about the core elements, I think 4 elements there are many elements, but the key elements, if we have to list it down, it could be your thermal comfort, whether I'm feeling better or whether I'm feeling cold, what is my thermal comfort today? Lighting is something which is important, whether the lighting is right in my task, whether I have excessive lighting or minimum lighting, whether it is optimum. Acoustics, that's also very important. When we speak about acoustics, we speak about the noise, whether it is, do we have any disturbances? And most important is the quality of air. So what is the quality of air that we breathe? Along with that, we also have need to focus on our architectural things, like say whether the architecture supports our well-being or not in terms of the indoor. So when we work on it, we need to first assess current state, and what could be the immediate needs that we need to work on. And when we need to work on the mitigation plan, how do I mitigate those risks? How do I mitigate those challenges which are there, which are excess, and how do I manage it? So the conclusion is better for the occupants, it will be better for the world. So from the Trane perspective, definitely we work with a lot of partners within our industries and other stakeholders in order to minimize our environmental impact. That's something which has been there on our radar from a very long time. And in order to meet the current challenge on the climate change, we do work with many partners, and then I have just listed some of them here. And these are mainly related to your better climate resilient environments, and also most important, maintaining the emphasis on energy efficiency. As I said in the beginning, it's not just the environment, it's also about the energy. So energy and environment is something that we need to really focus on in coming time. For example, if I have to just speak on, I've just put a thing here, like in September 2020, we launched a new Center for Healthy and Efficient Spaces. It's available. I think you can just go to the Google, and then you can just type. You will be able to find a lot of informative information which convey our expertise, advocate on the right policies what we have, and then what kind of innovation we bring into the market to address this important issue of healthy and efficient spaces. And even in India, we also partner with a lot of policymakers, HVAC and Mechanical Engineering Association, and work on how do we phase out the high global warming potential HFC refrigerants, green building standards, and other related advocacies. And something very interesting, we also have joined several important sustainability pledges and coalitions. That's very important, because it should not be that whether we just speak about it and whether we really act on it. And key one which we have listed here is the commitment to RE100 and EP100. RE100 is your renewable energy, 100% renewable energy, and EP100 is the 100% energy productivity. So RE Energy is your global, it's a global corporate renewable energy initiative that brings together at least 100 plus large companies who are very ambitious, who have a commitment of 100% renewable energy in coming time. So we have pledged for that. And EP100 is very specific to energy efficiency initiative that brings over again more than 120 ambitious business companies that gets committed to be a very meaningful, measurable, and reporting of the energy efficiency what they use. Along with that, we also have collaboration with UN Environmental Cool Coalition. And just to brief about Environmental Cool Coalition, I think they were also actively participated in our ICAP, the Indian National Cooling Plan, Action Plan that came up. So they were partners for that. So we are also part of that framework. And most important, the race to zero to meet our net global emissions by 2050. So that's the target what we have set in terms of meeting the global emissions, net zero global emissions by 2050 internally. In order to ensure our strategy, we have something called as Gigaton Challenge, where we have tied up or we have been noted with the SBTI, which is your science-based target initiative. We have pledged with them, and then they are the third-party agencies who do a lot of work, and then they measure whether we are in the right path and whatever we claim in terms of carbon reduction, whether it is met or not. So as I said about RE100, if I have to speak about the active carbon neutral operations, RE100 committed to use 100% renewable energy by 2040. That's something that has been pledged, and 10% reduction in absolute energy consumption. So that's also something we are working towards it. And definitely, yes, we are the way we are progressing right now, I think we will be much early in terms of the completion of this. We may not be able to extend it till 2040 or 2030. Maybe a little early itself, we'll be able to meet our commitments. So I was just trying to brief about the Gigaton Challenge, which I spoke about because it's very close to our heart. And this is something which started way back in 2014. I just don't want to read the complete stuff here, but just to give you a brief about, we work on 4 major things, which is accelerate clean technologies. So that's something which we try to work on, which is reduction about plus 20 metric ton of reduction in use of phase emissions of our products since 2014, the products what we use. Addressing the system efficiency, holistic solutions, not just the chiller, but the plant room per se. It's not just the chiller efficiency anymore, it's about the plant room efficiency what we speak. And very interesting to know the fact that what sir said about 30% of the consumption comes on the pumping itself. So something which is not just the chiller we need to look at, but when we have to work on the energy efficiency things, so it should be the complete plant room. Reducing food loss from cold chain, because we also work, we also have Thermo King, which is a cold transport division from Trane. So that's something which we are really working on. And last, not the least, which is about transitioning out of high GWP refrigerants. By 2030, we want to completely come out of high GWP refrigerants, so which is much ahead of the regulations. In centrifugals, we have almost moved to 100%. In other products, we are just phasing out the HFC. So slowly, we will be able to come out of the complete from the HFC gambit. Just to give you a brief about what exactly it is. Today it's around 25% of emissions. If we keep the same thing, it will increase to 35. I just explained about our actions and reduction customer carbon footprint by 1 gigaton of CO2 emissions. So that's something which we are really working on. So from the component to the system, it's not just about the buildings, it's also about the system per se. The best-in-class energy efficiency, next GWP refrigerants, maximum comfort, always reliable. That's something to do on the equipment. And on the system solutions, it should be reduction in waste energy and intensity, improved building envelope windows. I think most of the things have been now getting practiced because the kind of buildings what we see today, the kind of designs that have been coming today, I think they are much more efficient than we used to see in the past. So a lot of work has already been begun in this direction, and we see a good progress coming in future time. And on the refrigerated transport, the current state, because we know we do a lot of the cold transportation, the standard efficiency TRUs, the truck refrigerated units, we are moving to high efficiency TRUs. Diesel engine is the current state. Moving to electrified or hybrid engine, that's going to be the future. Fail on fix, connected truck, it's a on time monitoring, so that's something that has been picking up. We used to have this very old open drive type of compressors in the past, which are very slow which are very low in efficiency, but now we are now moving to fully hermetic high GWP refrigerant to low GWP refrigerants. So that's something which is going on. So that's it from my side. Since the time was slow, I think I moved a little fast. Thank you.